It began when a volunteer found a snake on the roadside, its mouth crawling with white segmented parasites no Floridian had ever documented before. Native snakes, some harboring over 100 of these blood-feeding intruders in their lungs, are dying in waves. The killer is an invasive parasite from Asia, evolving unchecked, already spilling north toward Alabama and Georgia. How did this hidden invader escape from pet trade pythons, and what will stop its advance? The parasite at the center of this crisis has a name: Rileyella orientalis. It is not a worm, but a pentastum, a crustacean relative that looks more like a segmented white thread with hook-like mouthparts than anything native to North America. Under the microscope, its body reveals armored rings and a set of chitinous hooks, perfect for latching onto the delicate lining inside a snake's lungs. This organism's story does not begin in Florida. Its roots stretch across Southeast Asia and Africa, where it evolved alongside a range of reptile hosts, including the Burmese python. In those native ecosystems, pythons and the parasite have reached a truce. The snake's large lungs and slow metabolism allow them to survive heavy infestations with little harm. But the 1990s brought a new chapter. Waves of Burmese pythons entered Florida through the exotic pet trade. Some were released intentionally, others escaped. Each python carried more than just its own threat. Many harbored Rileyella orientalis deep within their lungs, invisible to import inspections. The parasite's eggs and larvae traveled with these snakes, hidden from view, until the pythons found their way into the wilds of South Florida. It was only years later that herpetologists like Dr. Kelsey Chapman would open up the lungs of a dying native snake and find these segmented invaders for the first time. The discovery turned a local mystery into a clear threat, revealing that the parasite had leapt from its python reservoir and was now loose in Florida's native snake populations. The question shifted from what it was to how it would change everything for the snakes that had never encountered it before. Inside the lungs of a native Florida snake, the devastation is immediate and unmistakable. Adult Rileyella orientalis can reach nearly 4 inches in length, their pale, segmented bodies packed tightly together, writhing among the delicate folds of lung tissue. Clinical necropsies have revealed scenes that border on the surreal. Lungs so densely filled with parasites make normal breathing impossible. In one documented case, a pygmy rattlesnake was found with 107 pentastomes occupying its lungs. The massive parasites fed directly on the snake's blood, leaving behind raw lesions, inflamed tissue, and pockets of pus. Lungs meant for drawing in air are reduced to a battleground of blood and infection. As the infestation worsens, snakes become weak, stop eating, and struggle to move. Starvation and suffocation set in. The final stages are especially graphic. As the dying snake gasps for air, adult parasites can be seen emerging from the mouth, searching for a new host even as their current one slips away. This is not a slow decline. The damage is so severe that pneumonia and sepsis often follow, overwhelming the snake's system. For many native species, there is no chance to recover. The internal carnage caused by Rileyella orientalis is not just a biological curiosity. It is a lethal force, turning vital organs into breeding grounds for death. The scale and intensity of these infections prove the threat is not cosmetic or rare. It is lethal, and it is spreading. The life of Rileyella orientalis doesn't end with the death of a snake. As the adult parasites feed and breed inside the lungs, their eggs are coughed up or swallowed, finally leaving the host in feces. That is where the relay begins. Coprophagous insects, especially cockroaches, swarm to the droppings and ingest the microscopic eggs. Inside these insects, the eggs hatch and develop into infectious larvae, quietly waiting for the next link in the chain. Lizards and frogs, some native and others invasive like the brown anole, become accidental couriers. As they hunt for insects, They eat the infected cockroaches. The larvae slip into their bodies, nestling into tissues and lying dormant, sometimes for months. These paratenic hosts show little sign of illness, moving freely across habitats, carrying the parasite far beyond the original infection site. In laboratory studies, brown anoles fed infected roach tissue harbored viable larvae for over 150 days, showing how easily the cycle endures. When a snake, drawn by movement in the leaf litter, swallows a lizard or frog, the dormant larvae spring to life. They migrate through the snake's body and settle in the lungs, where they mature and start the process again. This multi-stage journey, relying on common insects and ubiquitous prey, means the parasite no longer depends on pythons to survive. Every step, egg, insect, lizard, snake, creates new opportunities for the parasite to leap into fresh hosts, making eradication nearly impossible. Field technicians tracking these hosts find evidence of the parasite's reach in nearly every layer of the ecosystem, showing a cycle that is both resilient and relentless. Florida's map tells the story in numbers. By the mid-2010s, the parasite's reach was limited to the southern tip, just a handful of counties clustered around the Everglades. Today, confirmed infections stretch across more than 34 counties, with the parasite now entrenched in the state's north, central, and panhandle regions. Roadkill surveys, organized by the Snake Lungworm Alliance and known as SLAM, have become the backbone of tracking this expansion. Teams collect dead snakes from highways and rural roads, documenting species, location, and infection status. Each year, the tally grows. What started as isolated discoveries in southern black racers and cottonmouths now includes coach whips, banded water snakes, pygmy rattlesnakes, and the federally threatened eastern indigo snake. The data show a relentless advance northward, averaging over 20 miles per year. In Alachua County, a banded water snake found in 2019 carried a heavy load of parasites, hundreds of kilometers beyond the python's original range. By 2023, black racers with visible lungworm infections turned up in St. Johns County, just south of the Georgia line. GIS analysis and field reports confirm at least 18 native species harboring the parasite, with new hosts added as surveys expand. The breadth of infected species and the speed of expansion confirm this is not a localized outbreak. It is an epidemic, and every new county added to the map means another step closer to the borders of Alabama and Georgia. For researchers, the numbers are alarming. The parasite no longer needs pythons or the pet trade. It is moving under its own power, carried by native wildlife through every corner of Florida. A volunteer roadkill surveyor combing a two-lane highway just south of the Alabama border recalls the moment a necropsy revealed something new inside a native black racer. The segmented bodies matched those found in Florida, confirming the parasite had crossed state lines. In Alabama, 2024 samples sent to university labs returned positive for Rileyella orientalis, setting off alarm among regional biologists. Georgia, meanwhile, remains on high alert. No confirmed cases yet, but surveillance teams are ramping up roadside collections and necropsies. The steady northward march, once limited to Florida's wetlands, now threatens to breach the entire southeast. With climate and host species nearly identical across state borders, the conditions are set for the parasite's next leap. For conservationists, every new detection is more than a data point. It is a warning that the crisis is no longer confined to a single state. Across Florida, the disappearance of native snakes is already being felt in unexpected ways. As these predators vanish, rodent populations are poised to surge, threatening crops and spreading disease. Food web models warn that unchecked rodent growth could ripple through farms and wildlands alike. The threat does not stop at rare species. Every lost snake leaves a gap in the ecosystem. With no treatment or cure, the only defense is vigilance. The Snake Lungworm Alliance, known as SLAM, urges anyone who finds a sick or dead snake, especially if worms are visible in the mouth, to report it through their online portal. Citizen science is now the front line. Every report helps scientists track the outbreak and protect what remains of the Southeast's native wildlife. Today, native snakes face an invisible threat, still spreading across the Southeast. With no known barrier and no available treatment, the region's ecological balance hangs in the balance. Each mile the parasite advances, another species risks silent collapse. The cost of inaction grows with every undetected infection.